perhaps, from your perspective, what were, some thoughts that came to you as you watched this film? What key messages you got? And of course, also for those of us who are on this panel here, joining us, please, either share with us some of your thoughts and questions on chat first while we get the conversation going, and then perhaps typical Singapore style, we'll start the conversation first, and then we'll see how things go with others, and I think that will make the film watching experience much more meaningful. So tell us, what are your thoughts, Friar?
Well, I really enjoyed how he drew this parallel, or how the movie drew this parallel between him and Saint Francis. Firstly, I did not expect it. I thought it was just really going to be about Pope Francis, but how he brought in that whole aspect of Saint Francis, and that really also captured me being a Franciscan.
Of course.
So that was already a first thing that kind of like got me engaged, and I never expected it. It was something I did not expect. What really the crux of it is really Pope Francis being a man of his word, whereby he really practices what he preaches, and he sets the example for it. And there were so many lines that really just shouted out so many important things. How he was with the people, and already when he was the Archbishop, as it started off, he was there on the grounds with the people, even as the Pope. And when he was at the place where there was such huge disaster, he was in his poncho, and he could have made something up, but he was so sincere. I just felt that strong sincerity that he really had no words, and he was just honest and sincere about it. Even though he had no words, he was there accompanying the people. Then again, after that, you saw some scenes of him being in his what they call it, Mr. Bean car, and again, that's another symbol, and so many things. And I think that little sister, there was that little sister there that I think knew Pope Francis before he was Pope, and they managed to have a short catch up, and she said that his life is now a sermon. And I just think back and just bring it back to ourselves, that how are our lives like? It just brings back a kind of reflection. That's the Pope. Yes, that's Pope Francis. But then how do we bring that to reality and bring back to our own lives, in our own reflections of certain things that struck us? How is my own life a little sermon, and how I live it out? He talks about, closer to the end, you see all the candles at the memorial, and he says that we too can be little lights. How have I been a kind of a little light for someone who is going through their own kind of darkness? And I have been experiencing such things even in ministry, in being in a fraternity of Franciscans, that even religious can go through darkness. And how are we, even if you've got nothing to say, being that presence of that little light? And then he talks about the more you affect others, the more you are called to be humble. And that's like, wow, that's quite powerful, because then your life becomes a bigger witness, and smaller things that you do, decisions that you make, really affects you. And the power can, if you're not humble, the power can ruin you, as he says, and others as well. And that's like, that's quite true if we're not aware of it. So so many points In this movie is just so rich.
It's so rich. Yeah, and so maybe I can invite some of us on the in the call here on the Zoom. If you have any questions you'd like to ask as well at any time, feel free to unmute or raise your hand, and so we will see you and call upon you. So this is a small, intimate fireside virtual conversation. Yeah, and if not, it's okay. Yeah, if you are shy to speak up as well, but not to worry. I like what Friar Gerald reminded us about the little sermon, and the little light. Maybe that's what we can take away, the whole film. How can we live our life out as a little sermon? Yeah, and the fact is, I think we all know any religious congregation, regardless, it is a community of human beings. So first and foremost, right? So I think it's perhaps even more challenging, as a community, because you can't, the habit that you wear is more than just dress, it's so it is something that it's part of your DNA, and so for him that dress, that habit is even more challenging, right, as the Pope.
Right.
So therefore, for any of us, the more senior our positions, or the more called you are upon to lead the group, then the more you have to live out your life as a sermon, which is a nicer way of saying, witnessing, because sometimes we may be uncomfortable to say, you live your life as a witness. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's very, very true. I think another point that kind of really brought me home to Singapore, I think especially because a lot of the context was South American, and so I was just trying to look and think about how can this movie apply to us here in Singapore, and there was a portion of it talking about this fast-paced life, and we are in a very fast-paced world and fast-paced life here. And he stopped at one point and he asked people that came to him for confession, last time, do you play with your children? And I think about it, and the young people that I talk to, and a lot of them have very little interactions with their parents, and even as adults, this fast-paced life really, as he says, makes us forget the important things, the small things which are very important. How we can slow down, how we can take time, firstly, for God, then next for ourselves and for the people around us. So I mean, just perhaps to think about what can we do to slow down this fast-paced life.
And I've just posted the question on chat. Please, for everyone, please share with us what's your favorite scene. But I think the reality is in Singapore, certainly, and not just Singapore, right? The whole world has had to learn how to slow down. I know it sounds maybe even rude of me to say it, but during the circuit breaker, I did appreciate the silence and the pace, that forced us to slow down, because we are all, products of the Singapore system.
Yes.
To be truly Singaporean is really to talk fast and walk fast and eat fast and act fast.
Yes, that's right. And it becomes a great challenge, because I've heard of many families who, because of circuit breaker, tensions have actually gone up, because they're all now cooped up in the same dining room and living room trying to do their work, and and everyone is at each other's faces. We find it difficult to do that, because sometimes we are also living such individual lives, even though we're in family, and now we are forced to be in close proximity, and now that people are starting to go back to work, everyone's like, But
ironically, right? I mean, that's why when we discuss films, we also need to contextualize, right? Not just to our country, but also to this time. Yeah, it's clearly, it is now it's unusual times. Most people are now finding it harder to return to the workplace because they've actually realized that things that in the past people used to think we can't operate so effectively remotely actually can work. So just like what I think Pope Francis models in the way he engages with his people is not to get fixated on one particular approach, but to be flexible, and to be a man not only of his word, but a man of his time, to be able to adapt and be willing to look at things that are a little bit different, from how things were done or how you were brought up, because now things have changed. Yeah. So what do you think are some of the challenges that he talks about that we might have with regards to creation or with family, and what were other areas that came up for you?
Well, I think some of the other powerful scenes were, one of it was the flashes of his concerns on St. Peter's Basilica, of the different aspects of creation that is really, really sad. As well as you see those scenes of rubbish and rubbish mountains, and he talks about a culture of waste. And Singapore is also facing that. You just come to Chinese New Year or Christmas, and you just turn on the news, you look at CNA, they have those documentaries on buying and throwing away kind of a culture, and we are immersed in such a culture. Do we have much answers? I don't know, but at least we have an awareness so that at least we can be more discerning when we buy certain things, or not for short-term gains, but maybe for longer-term gains, that we can actually use certain things for longer periods of time rather than just use it, throw away kind of a thing. So in
a way a disposable culture, right?
Yes.
Which is unfortunate that we've arrived at this stage, right?
Unfortunate.
And in a way, the pandemic has also increased our focus on hygiene and safety, which is all good. But on the other hand, as a result of which, there's a lot of unnecessary waste
all our disposable masks.
Actually, in the name of safety and hygiene, right?
That's right.
So something's got to give. So we need to learn how to balance that.
That's right.
Culture of waste is more than just the physical waste, but it's how we take care of each other as well. So any other takeaways for you from this particular documentary, that insights into the Pope, or to what matters to him as a person, but also what matters to the church?
It's interesting because Pope Francis, being the leader of the Catholic Church, had never imposed a faith onto another person. And he always saw that, and he even said this, what was the common thing by everyone is the bond of God's love that we all share. It's because of God's spirit. We can call God, but another religion will call him by another name, but he never imposes the faith onto other persons, but always goes by a compassionate stand in this human fraternity that he talks about. And just recently, he had released this most recent encyclical, Fratelli Tutti.
I know, I heard about it.
About all brothers. There is this human fraternity that we belong to, and he released it just on St. Francis's feast day. Yeah, last year. So really, he is one of the best Franciscans who's not a Franciscan.
Don't you want that? No.
Yeah, he's doing a great job for all Franciscans out there. Really,
Are you all giving him PR fees or not?
the Vatican is supporting him.
Of course, yeah. So yes, I think he's really immersed himself into the role, and not only as the Pope but also as Francis, as representative of Francis.
Francis, exactly.
Yeah, so I think no one else could do as well as he has, and I think it's because, as you said, he's fully present in whatever he does and whatever he is accepted, and just the sincerity comes through lah.
Yeah. Really, the spirit, part of the spirit of Saint Francis, and that's why his order is called the Order of Friars Minor. Friars coming from the Latin word frater, which you get the root word from fraternity, so about brotherhood, right? And minority, being humble, being simple. So he really embodies that. And Francis writing this great prayer of the Canticle of the Creatures, as we also heard in the movie, extending this brotherhood not just to humans but really all of creation. And I think that's something that Pope Francis models for us, especially in our multiracial, multicultural society. It's something that we need even more, that every person is a brother, is a sister, and we try our best to approach them in that way. Yeah, because really God is the creator of us all and the father of us all, and whether they subscribe to being a Catholic or not, they are still created by God nonetheless, and they are our brother and our sister.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm just typing in the name of the encyclical, right? Fratelli Tutti.
That's right. Yeah,
it's not the ice cream.
No, it's not the sweet either.
It's not a sweet either. Yes. Yeah. So I would encourage those who are still on the chat with us to also, check it out. I think it's a very powerful one. Yeah. For us to really understand a little more, because it really connects us with our own community here, and that actually everything we do in community is living out our faith, and not that only the people in habits live out their faith, right? In fact, we all have our own challenges, as we know. Okay. So any other final comments that you'd like to share, that people can as they walk away, thinking about this film, or maybe as they sleep on it tonight, what do you think might be something that you could remind us to leave behind?
Maybe we can end off where we began, in Pope Francis's first few remarks. Very, very powerful statement, saying that really the world today is mostly deaf. And it's interesting because I had lived with a deaf friar. So we have a friar who is deaf. And I think he can hear in certain ways more than we can as hearing people. But I think it's quite true, because we go about our days just doing things and just getting our day over and done with. And there are lots of things that we may not be able to hear, either by our busyness, our disposition, whatsoever. And I think we need to, as Pope Francis says, slow down, to be able to hear the things that God is inviting us to hear. And he says that, he encourages to talk little, because sometimes we can talk a lot. On the reverse, to listen more, to listen a lot, and to say just enough, right? And to look the person in the eye. That's really to give the other person his or her dignity, that human dignity, to appreciate the person as a brother, again, as a sister, as a person that is loved and created by God, just as we are. So, as he said, to do as other people would like to do to you. That's something. And how do we do that? Really, it's how are we being that little sermon for others? That's the summary.
Yes. Oh wow. That's the toughest, right? The what do you call the least and the most, right? Is actually the most challenging, right? To live out the little sermon in our daily lives. It requires lifelong learning. Because we will make mistakes, but at the same time we need to forgive ourselves and forgive others. But it is a daily challenge. But that's why we are continuously on this conversion process, right, Friar?
Yep. That's why we have the faith. That's why we have Jesus, and that's why we have the church and the sacraments.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much for enriching our film experience. But before we end, what I like to do is then share the one screen or a couple of screens that we did earlier. One is to encourage people to continue reflecting on the CST. Catholic social teaching whenever we watch films. This one, because it's about the Pope, it's very clear, and all the 10 social teachings are relevant. All right, and what we'd like you to do is to as we mentioned earlier in the as we began the session, that we will be launching the ticket sales, for the upcoming CFF 4, 1st of May. Please go check us out. Please take a screenshot of this page, and especially, whatever you can donate to us will be most welcome, because as you know, we are a charity and we do need, to ensure that we help to defray as much cost as possible. All right, so please, like us if you have not already done so, and check us out on Instagram and, of course, the main festival website. All right, so we have 5 more screenings in the following 2 weekends, plus this one tomorrow. All right, so we look forward to your participation, and let us know through Facebook or through Instagram how you benefited from joining us on this online screening. All right, thank you all very much. It's been a real pleasure, to be having a fireside conversation with Friar, and really makes the film and the Pope, more real for us. It's not just someone so far away, and on a pedestal, right? It's actually someone here and very human to us. What we've seen, how he has lived his life. So thank you all very much, and I hope to see you all tomorrow as well for the next screening. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and God bless.
Enjoy. God bless.
Thank you. See you.
See you.